All right, more on this now. Let's bring in Texas Senator John Cornyn. Senator Cornyn, it's good to see you this afternoon. I wanted to ask you, first of all, your thoughts on this news that DHS itself just confirmed that many of these Haitian migrants are being released on their own recognizance into the United States.
Well, unfortunately, that is consistent with the policy that has encouraged 1.2 million migrants to come to our borders since Joe Biden became president. It's entirely inconsistent with what they said they were going to do with the Haitian migrants in Del Rio, which is repatriate them to Haiti. So, unfortunately, this is the same mistake they have made from the very beginning, that they say one thing and they do another, but these folks and the human smugglers who smuggle them into the United States and make a lot of money doing it are watching what they're doing and not listening to what they're saying.
If I could just read from the DHS press release that went out a short time ago, it says individuals, and this is talking about the Haitians, who are not immediately repatriated are either placed in alternatives to detention, detained in an ICE facility, or released with a legal document, either a notice to appear in court or a notice to report to an ICE office for further immigration processing. Are you concerned, Senator, that like we have seen so many times in the past, that if some of these migrants who are released into the United States just have a piece of paper saying you should go see an ICE officer or there's a notice to appear, that they'll just blend into society and we'll never hear from them again?
Well, this is designed to fail. It will fail to deter not just the 15,000 Haitians that we've seen in Del Rio, but the next wave of migrants who come in, because the administration simply doesn't acknowledge that what we have here is a flawed policy which provides a magnet for people to continue to come into the country because they know they can simply blend into the great American landscape. This is what has been called catch and release. Catch and release does not deter people from coming. It simply encourages more to come.
President Biden was asked about the situation at the southern border yesterday when he was in New York at the United Nations. Let's just watch this quick exchange with a member of the U.S. press pool.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to the images coming from the southern border?
Get it under control.
Get it under control, or you have it under control?
We will get it under control.
The president said we will get it under control. But what we seem to see here, Senator, is a litany of successive crises. If it's not migrants coming in from the Northern Triangle, it's people coming in from Venezuela, or now it's people coming in who were in Haiti at one point along their journey. We understand that there's a group of some 20,000 more in Colombia who are looking at what's going on the border in Del Rio and saying, wow, now's the time to come.
Well, what I worry about is the definition of the Biden administration about having things under control is very different from what I would say when somebody asks me, is our border under control? Our border is not in control. If what they mean they're in control, they're processing people into the United States, continuing the same policies that served as a huge magnet to this humanitarian crisis. There will be another one right behind the Haitian wave, and it's all because Joe Biden and his administration either don't care or they don't know how to fix it. But I've got a bipartisan bill with Senator Sinema, also supported by Democrats and Republicans in the House, that would help stop the flow, but so far they've shown no interest.
Yeah, you know, and obviously Kyrsten Sinema, the senator from Arizona, has got a big stake in this as well, given what's going on in her state. In terms of not interested, Brendan Judd, who's the president of the National Border Patrol Council, was on Fox earlier today. He says that his union warned DHS back in June, that something like this might happen. Listen to what he said the response was from DHS.
Not only did they ignore us, they said that they had more efficient ways to deal with this. And now we had at the top of this, we had 14,872 people under that bridge. If that's efficient, then our government is broken.
So let me get your thoughts on that. What we see there on the left-hand side of our screen, is that a more efficient way of dealing with mass migration?
No, Mr. Judd knows what he's talking about, and he's an expert on these matters, and the administration would do well to listen to him. And he's also of the opinion that this catch and release system is simply an incentive for people to continue to come. Look, these migrants pay thousands of dollars to human smugglers to bring them into the United States. Obviously, they want to come to the United States, but if there's no deterrence, no enforcement of our immigration laws, then they're going to keep coming, and the numbers are going to just get worse.
Now, Alejandro Mayorkas, the Secretary of DHS, was on the Hill yesterday, subjected to some withering criticism and questioning from Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Let's listen to this exchange. I'll get you on the other side.
How many people have been returned? How many people are being detained? How many people have been dispersed to all points around America?
Senator, I would be pleased to provide you with that data.
I want them now. Why don't you have that information now?
Senator, I do not have that data.
Why not?
For me.
Why don't you have that basic information?
Now, certainly DHS has got a lot of information, Senator, not the least of which is that in the fiscal year 2020-2021, which comes to a close on the 30th of this month, so far 1.5 million people have come across the border illegally. We still have 1 month to go, so that number could rise substantially. I mean, I don't mean to be critical here, but is the Secretary just gaslighting America?
Yeah, I think that's one way to put it. He either doesn't know, which I would think would be malpractice on his part, or he does know and simply doesn't want to share it with members of Congress doing oversight or the American people, because it's bad news. And the worst part of this is if you make the same mistakes over and over again, you're going to get the same result. And we've seen what's happened with Joe Biden's failed border policies for the first 8 months he's been in office. And I think we can expect this to continue into the future until he or Congress is able to do something about it.
Now, we saw Texas Governor Greg Abbott on the border right there at that bridge the other day talking about what Texas has had to do to step in and fill the gap that the federal government is not filling. Here's part of what the governor said.
The Biden administration is a man-made disaster of inhumanity, of epic proportions. It must end. It must end immediately. And the way to end it is by the Biden administration stepping up and finally enforcing the immigration laws of the United States of America.
Now, the federal government has got sole jurisdiction for handling immigration issues, but the state of Texas, your state, Senator, has had to step in here, divert DPS resources. It's had to put boots on the ground there to stop this problem. We actually saw DPS officers form a wall out of cars to stop migrants from coming across the Rio Grande. This is obviously taking a big toll in terms of time, money, and man and woman power away from what the state needs to do elsewhere.
Well, John, we're ground zero. We have 1,200 miles of common border with Mexico. If the federal government isn't going to do the job, then our state leaders, Governor Abbott and others, have no choice but to do it themselves.
Yeah.
This is a problem of huge magnitude. You look at our border communities that depend on cross-border trade and tourism. They're being devastated. They're being overrun by these huge numbers.
Hey, Senator, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but we need to jump out of this and go to the White House.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.